You're 16, kneeling in the driveway, mixing a $4.68 bag of Quick Rate from Home Depot to patch the crack your mom got quoted $400 to fix. 20 years later, you sign a $2 million parking structure subcontract, and your boom pump rolls off the lot to start the pour. Between those two moments sits a $77.5 billion industry, 203,000 cement masons, and 1 million construction laborers, and a net margin most outsiders refuse to believe. This is every level of a concrete contractor's career in America and what it actually costs to climb. If you like breakdowns of how careers actually progress, like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Level 1. The driveway patch. You're 16, and the contractor's quote is stapled to the fridge. $400 flat. The minimum trip fee for any pro to even show up is $100 to $250. Your mom keeps reading it like the number might change. You drive the F-150 to Home Depot, walk past the Ryobi display, and load one 60-pound bag of Quick Rate concrete mix number 1101 4000 PSI into the bed for $4.68. Back home, you wire brush the crack, chase it wider with a cold chisel and a 3-pound hammer, and hose the dust out. You dump the bag into a plastic wheelbarrow and pull a garden hoe through it. The first instinct is to add more water. You don't. A soup mix drops the rated strength and the patch scales off by next summer. Your dad's friend told you that on the phone, and you wrote it on the bag. The mix comes up like stiff oatmeal, alkaline and gray, and the paper smells like a freshly torn cement sack on a hot driveway. You pack the void with a 6-inch margin trowel. Strike off flush with a short 2x4 and float it with a magnesium hand float. You broom the texture to match the rest of the slab. You stop adjusting it. You mist it under plastic sheeting for 48 hours and check it every morning before school. Saturday, you walk on it. It holds. Your mom hands you $100 from the $4 she didn't spend, and that's the first time adult work pays you in adult money. The patch is still there. You can drive past it. Ready for Level 2? Level 2. The Mud Hand. You're 18 on your first crew, making $17.50 an hour against a BLS construction laborer median of $22.47. The customer pays $130 to $165 a yard for the mud in the truck. You make $14-something an hour wheeling it across the yard. A $468 bag versus a $130 yard. Same chemistry, 38 times the scale, and you're the one moving it. Day 1, the foreman points at the chute. You wheelbarrow mud from the back of the ready-mix truck to the corner the boom can't reach. You rake it into low spots with a come-along, screed off with a straight 2x4, jitterbug the aggregate down so the cream comes up top, and ride the 36-inch Marshalltown bull float in overlapping passes until the bleed water flashes off. The diesel rumble of the drum is constant, your Carhartts are spattered by lunch, and the splatter dries to a hard gray crust by the time you clock out. Mike Day, who owns Day's Concrete Floors in North Monmouth, Maine, said it was the summer of 1981 when he started pouring concrete floors. You start in a summer that feels exactly the same. Your first solo task is a rat slab, 1 to 2 inches of unfinished wash in a crawl space, the classic mud hand initiation. You crawl in on your elbows, drag the mud with a hoe, and screed it with a board you cut to fit. The foreman crawls in, looks, says one word, good, and crawls back out. You stop counting the hours. The crew runs a Wacker Newson plate compactor on the subgrade before the next pour. The foreman signs the delivery ticket, 3,000 PSI, 5.5 yards, 5-inch slump, batched at 7:12 in the morning, and you watch him sign it. The OSHA Silica Rule 29 CFR 1926.1153 sets the limit at 50 micrograms per cubic meter. You're the one cutting and sweeping. You wear the half mask now. Friday, you cash a pay stub, 40 hours at $17.50, $700 gross, and the check clears Monday. You stay on the crew. Level 3. The Finisher. You're 25, 4 years in, and the BLS median for cement masons is $54,660 a year. Decorative stamped work pays a premium of $8 to $12 per square foot of revenue capacity over plain flat work. Mike Day's published list runs $26 to $28 per square foot for stamped concrete. You're not there yet. You're at the trowel. The slab is signed work. You can drive past it 10 years later and see your edges. Monday's pour is a stamped colored patio behind a custom home, and the homeowner is watching from the kitchen window. You open the paste with a magnesium bull float and pull a Marshalltown Fresno on poles. Then you wait. You press a fingertip into the surface. 1/8 of an inch. You wait. Then you fire the whacker noose and walk behind power trowel and set the hard plane. You broadcast color hardener by hand, float it in, broadcast release agent, and lay the first brick form Old English cobblestone mat. You walk the stamp, stamp, and advance. Halfway through the second row, you feel the surface get away from you on the south side. Too late, the cream is gone. The texture is tearing instead of pressing. Burn the slab. You go to the 16-inch blue steel trowel and hand finish it back. The foreman watches from the truck and doesn't say a word. The stamps sit clean. Inside the green cut window, you fire the steel cutoff saw and joint the slab at 10-foot spacing. 24 hours later, you power wash the release off and seal it with an acrylic sealer, and the homeowner cuts you a check on the spot. You take the ACI Concrete Flatwork Finisher exam. 50 questions written, plus a performance exam. 1,500 documented hours, $323 to $500 at the chapter, and you pass on the first sitting. The cert is good for 5 years. David Odell, who owns Odell Complete Concrete in Fountain Valley, California, license number 620752C8B, said by the time he was 18, he was working full-time in his father's business. By 26, he had his contractor's license. You're 25, you start sketching. The Klein margin trowel from the patch in the driveway sits in your bucket, dented at the tip. You don't throw it out. You stop saving the pay stubs. The foreman calls on Saturday. He wants you running the next crew. Level 4. The Foreman. You're 32, 10 years in, averaging $35.59 an hour. The BLS median for first-line construction supervisors is $78,900 a year. A foreman signs for $200,000 of concrete on a Tuesday morning and clocks out at $35.59 an hour. That math doesn't bother you yet. 6 a.m. You walk the subgrade with the inspector. Vapor barrier flat, rebar on chairs, lap splices to spec. 7 a.m. The first truck arrives. Cemex, 4,000 psi, 4-inch slump, 8.5 yards on the ticket. You sign it. The pumper primes the line with grout slurry. Hydraulic whine off the S-valve. Radio crackle calling the next truck. And the boom swings out over the pad. The inspector witnesses an ASTMC 143 slump test. 12-inch cone, 3 lifts, 25 rod strokes each, cone lifted, subsidence measured. You watch the air meter go in, you cast cylinders for the 28-day break, and sign them out. The Samaro S22EZ laser screed runs 15,000 to 25,000 square feet an hour. The Allen Engineering riding trowel comes in behind it. You're not on the slab, you're on the radio. Halfway through the pour, the GC Super calls a cold joint risk. One truck is 40 minutes out, and the last load has set up at the leading edge. You walk it, call dispatch, reroute the next 2 trucks, and burn the joint with a wet screed pass before it locks. It holds, you sign the ticket, the next truck rolls in. You take the ACI Concrete Field Testing Technician. Grade 1, 55 question written, performance over 7 ASTM methods, $610 member, $660 non-member, 70% overall to pass. You pass it. Rick Lebdell, who owns Concrete Mystique in Tennessee and sits on the ASCC Decorative Concrete Council, said ASCC is one of the most important things for any contractor to be involved with. You join. You stop calling your mother back during the week. The pour wraps at 1 in the afternoon. The cylinders go in the rack. Saw cut joints inside the green cut window. Curing compound rolled on. Final sign-off. The first concrete check from the driveway is in a frame above your kitchen sink now. The super wants to see you Monday. Level 5. The Superintendent. You're 41, 16 years in. The Glassdoor Concrete Superintendent total pay average is $102,423 a year. The top decile runs $164,769. You're running a $5 million tilt-up project and clearing about $130,000. You don't touch a trowel for weeks. Tilt-up panels weigh 50 to 125,000 pounds. A good crew stands 30 in a day. You coordinate iron workers, ready-mix dispatch, and the boom crew off a Primavera P6 schedule synced into Procore on the iPad. The codebook sits open on the trailer desk, A-CI 318, the 2019 edition, bookmarked to Chapter 20 for cover and lap splices. Friday pre-pour, engineer, supplier, finisher, pumper, GC Super. Saturday at 4 a.m. you walk into the GC trailer and the coffee is already on. 30 ready-mix trucks idle in the queue outside. The pump truck sits on outriggers. 5 a.m. First truck. You're running the pour from the deck. Radio in one hand, ticket clipboard in the other. CMEX, 4,500 psi, 4-inch slump, 9.5 yards a load, water cement ratio 0.42. You watch the boom output, 80 to 210 cubic yards an hour. The AGC of America's 2024 workforce survey said 94% of contractors had open craft positions, and 54% reported project delays from worker shortages. You live on that schedule. You build the crew you have, and the crew you have shows up. Zach Van Bemden, a project manager at Kent Companies in Grand Rapids, won the ASCC Gaining Strength Award in 2021. Jordan Behrens, same company, started as a laborer in 2014, promoted to senior PM. You promote 2 of your own this year. The 5 a.m. alarm doesn't wake you anymore. You wake before it, and the boots are already by the door. Green cut joints at the 4 to 12 hour window, blanket cure on the deck, forms strip at 7 days under the reshoring plan. 28-day cylinder breaks, witnessed by the engineer. They hit spec. The GC asks who you'd recommend as super on the next project. You give them your name. Level 6. The owner. You're 48, 22 years in. The biz-buy-sell median seller's discretionary earnings for Texas concrete businesses is $272,776. A real listing in NorCal, $10 million in revenue, $1 million in cash flow, $650,000 EBITDA. $10 million in revenue at 4% net equals $400,000. The same $400 your mom didn't spend. Now it's your year. The bid sits on the screen in HCSS Heavy Bid, a $2 million concrete subcontract on a parking structure, 10% retainage held into substantial completion plus 90 days. You submit the schedule of values. The surety bonds the job at a 1 to 3% premium. You finance a used Putzmeister 47-meter boom pump, $300,000 to $1 million on the market, and it rolls off the lot with your name stenciled on the side. The California C8 license on the wall took 4 years of journey-level experience, 2 PSI exams, a $25,000 contractor's bond, and a $450 application fee. You bid against Baker Lithgow Seco Suntech. You don't win every one. Monthly, the bookkeeper walks you through the WIP schedule, overbillings, underbillings, percentage of completion, backlog. You sign the AIA G702 pay app and email it to the GC's office before lunch. The mud comes from CEMEX. The pumps come from your yard. Payroll runs across 30 to 60 employees. Your best decorative finisher makes $26 to $28 a square foot in his own truck and clears more per hour than you do on paper. You know the math. The risk is on your name, and so is the building. The kid on the entry crew makes $17.50 an hour. He's screeding a driveway pour this morning, and he just signed his first ticket. You don't touch the trowel anymore. Baker Construction Enterprises did $1.156 billion in 2024 and has been ENR's #1 concrete contractor for 17 consecutive years. Dan Baker started the company in 1968 at age 20 with his brothers Jim and Ken. Carl H. Watson Jr., named CEO in June of 2023, told ENR he needs the right people with the right skills who share their values in the right places. The ENR top 600 specialty contractors did $214.5 billion in aggregate. Suntech Concrete in Phoenix did $765 million. The ladder keeps going up past where you stand. 20 years in, your knee never came back from the rat slab, and you take the trade. The Quikrete bag from your mom's driveway sits on the shelf above your desk, the corner still torn open, paper stiff and gray. Next to it, the framed first concrete check from level 1, $100, your mom's handwriting on the memo line. Beneath it, the 16-inch blue steel trowel from level 3, mounted on a strip of walnut. Outside, the yard at dawn, 2 boom pumps folded down, fleet trucks lined up, your name on every door. The kid on Bay 3 is mixing a 60-pound bag in a plastic wheelbarrow, just like you did, only it's for a job you bid, and he's making $17.50 an hour, and the check will clear Monday. You hand him a margin trowel out of your truck and tell him not to add more water. He nods. He doesn't. The keys to the lot are on the hook by the door, and they're yours.